Thank you, Christine. Well, Silicon Valley might need a name change. I don't know what we're going to call it. We'll talk about that right now. The chip-making technology, which led to the PC, the Internet, and the information age, could be phased out, not immediately, but perhaps in the next 10 years or so, by 2015. So says the International Technology Roadmap for Semiconductors. That is a report produced by top developers from everywhere, the U.S., Europe, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, from their semiconductor industry associations. They just compiled this report. What will power the computers of the future? You may have guessed it, nanotechnology. Mark Modzelewski is Vice President of Strategic Operations at Nanodynamics, and he joins us to explain further. Welcome, Mark. Good to see you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Moore's Law, we're going to run up against it eventually. This, what they put together, all these industry associations, is a plan to move perhaps away from silicon to maybe organic materials or something else, right, which will allow us to continue to extend Moore's Law.
Yeah, I mean, the issues with Moore's Law is running into is that you can't make the feature small enough to continue to double the power every 24 months, which has been happening for the past several decades. Silicon can't take the heat, for instance, of having all that energy happening on the chip. So what they're looking for right now is to actually build from the bottom up. So far, semiconductors are generally a lithography method. You're pushing things down, you're trying to make them smaller and get more and more things on. What we're looking at now is actually building them up, taking things at the atomic level and making them more and more complex until we can do the same things that a chip can do right now.
We're at the molecular level already, but it's a few molecules, right? For the switch of 1 or 0?
It's about a 90 nanometer switches right now, and what we're talking about is that
1 molecule, or an electron.
Exactly.
So exciting.
It is. And so what we're really talking about now is having to use things like carbon nanotubes that can take the heat, using organic processes. Our company even is looking at things not necessarily for high-end chips, but for lower-end chips as we look at ubiquitous computing and ubiquitous wireless, of actually printing electronics and using inkjet methods and other methods to actually spray on atom-sized metals to actually create simple chips.
And a lot of this stuff isn't for supercomputers in defense industry. It's for nano iPods and for consumer electronics.
It's how does your TV work with your cell phone that works with your computer at work, and how do all these things play together? And now that we're seeing these wireless networks sit over whole cities, how do we do it? How do we keep it all together and safe, working, virus-proof, etc.?
I'm just sitting here making believe I know what you're talking about.
At least you're honest.
No.
Real companies, Intel.
Certainly, I mean, Intel's looking at HP and IBM have long been out in front. I think Intel coming around 2000 sort of pushed forward for the first time on their part into the nano realm. I see a lot of startups as well.
How about Google? Are they involved in this?
Not yet, but they're certainly.
I just thought I'd throw that in there.
I'm sure they will be soon enough.
We started hearing about nanotechnology a few years ago. What was that all about? Were they just people ahead of the curve, or when is the real inflection point going to happen?
Well, what you're seeing right now is actually some memory chips, things that might take the place of flash memory, DRAM, things along those lines, actually being available already. Some startups already can go into production. Philips, HP are also able to do this right now. Now, you don't quite have them yet, but within the next 2 or 3 years, things like nano-scale memory will already be introduced into your computing.
Well, there's 1 billion transistors now, right, on a...
I think a trillion.
No, we're going to a trillion.
We're going to a trillion,
which
right.
Is 1,000. Nanotubes or nanotech will allow us to go from 1 billion, which... You want to chip with only 1 billion transactions? I myself don't want 1 billion. Well, I have 1 billion when you could have 1 trillion. But they're even talking about that decision of 1 or 0 could be this. Remember in school the spin of an electron was either an up electron or a down electron? That could be the decision?
They've actually made a single molecular switch at using a single molecule at IBM that it can do a positive or negative, so it could allow technically to create gate system of doing either 1 or 0, 1 or 0.
So they're going to start working on this now.
Right.
But it really 10 years is how long it might take. How long could
they're in trouble in about 10 to 15 years. That's when silicon will really be reaching its limits, and keeping up this level of doubling every 24 months is going to be reaching its limits. So at that point, you're going to see them have to switch over, do hybrid devices, use some nanomaterials in it to deal with the heat and things along those lines. It'll be a long-term transition. This isn't happening tomorrow.
Where's the technology the best? I mean, is this a U.S. technology or is it a global technology? technology.
In electronics, the U.S. certainly has a bit of a lead, but certainly Asia is catching up. And I think as China becomes a bigger and bigger manufacturing site, their science is going to also become more and more advanced as those people are sitting there on site. So we're going to see some major changes there. And I think a lot about the roadmap, too, was also to control the competition somewhat. They don't want disruptive technologies coming out. Let's get everyone working together right now, and that way we can control the flow and the development.
Before we let you go, what would give us the biggest gee whiz thing we would see on the consumer front? I mean, how would we notice it? The fact that these chips that nanotechnology was the real deal.
On the consumer front, you're probably just going to notice it on things along the lines of size and convenience. The fact that something maybe like the size of an iPod isn't going to be able to do so many multifunctions, have more power than your current PC in a few years just because of the chips that are going to be in it. That's pretty much where you're going to see it. It's going to be, I think, pretty blind to the consumers as far as they're just, we've already gotten used to things getting better and better and better. And I think it's just, they're meeting a consumer need by pushing this roadmap right now.
Boy. Just wondering if our children's children are going to run into Moore's law, because we've extended it again. Maybe we can go to actual particles, subatomic particles.
Zeta technology, yeah.
What?
Zeta is smaller than nano. Zeta.
Come on.
There is small, and then there's pico. It goes down several. It goes down
Does
several.
it really?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
We got to keep it. I'm up nights thinking Moore's law, man. It's coming. It's coming, and I
just got a
can't sleep.
BlackBerry, by the way.
Just got a BlackBerry.
Just got a cell phone.
You'll become addicted to it.
Charlotte's the only reporter who still uses a rotary phone.
All right, thanks to Mark. I'm Modzelewski, Vice President of Strategic Operations at Nanodynamics.
The bond market